Welcome to Surviving the Pin with your hosts, author Anne Swain, author Pablo Agrio, author Elsie Harmon. Welcome to Surviving the Pin with your hosts, author Anne Swain, author Pablo Agrio, author Elsie Harmon.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Pablo Agrio. I'm the author of the book In Pursuit of Happiness. I'm here with authors Elsie Harmon and Mike Swain. This is the third segment of Surviving the Pen. I want to start out by saying, first of all praise and glory to my Father and Creator and to His Son, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. I'm here to do His will, as are my brothers here. And we hope that today we can share some wisdom and insight in what it took to survive the pen. We're going to talk tonight about a topic that I think is going to be very interesting. We're going to approach it in a twofold manner. First, we're going to discuss a little bit about what was your worst moments in the pen. Maybe one or two of them, depending upon how much time we got left. And then how you survived it, what helped you survive or overcome that worst moment. So without further ado, because time flies when we're talking about good stuff, we're going to start off with Mike, and then we'll move on to Latif, and then I'll come back at the tail end. So go ahead, Mike.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I don't know if y'all hear that clicking sound. Do y'all hear the clicking sound?
I don't hear it. I can hear you pretty clear, but the image is kind of like jumping back and forth. So that's a little bit of that. The only issue, that technical issue, but I can hear you real good.
Okay, well, that time for me was when my grandmother passed. It was count time. Of course, when it was count time, the prison was locked down. There's absolutely no movement. I was in my cell. My door popped open. The cell door popped open, and peeped my head out the door. And officer in the cab was like, "Come here." Went down. He said, "You need to get on the phone and call home." So I knew something was bad, Didn't know what, but I knew something was bad. Called the woman I was with at the time. She said, "Call your mother." I called my mother. My mother told me, "Granny's gone." Well, then, before she can get the words out of her mouth, I saw how this is the only time that I've ever contemplated suicide in my life. It was that much pain that I couldn't. And I'm a strong person. I'm like a real strong person. I've endured a lot in my life. But that was something that I didn't know how to deal with. I didn't know. All I could think about is, what am I going to do without her? So before she can get the words out of her mouth, I'm downstairs. I slept on the top tier. I can see myself walking down the top tier, getting on the rail, just swan diving head first off the top tier. That was, and it was a lot of elements that played in it being the worst time of my life. First of all, I'm from Florida, right? And at this time, I'm incarcerated in Maryland. So both of y'all know there's no way the states let me go to this funeral. No way. It don't matter how much money you got. It's not happening. So that was a big thought of mine. Then I didn't get to see a last smile. I didn't get to get a last hug. I didn't get to get, you know, our conversations we had, you know. So, but in that conversation with my mother, you know, my mother said pretty much the same thing I did, right? What am I gonna do, you know, without her? And man, it was just rough, man. It was that was the most, not just the most difficult time I've ever had in prison, but that was the most difficult time I've ever had in my life. When you lose somebody that close to you, and you in a place such as prison, then everything start playing back in your mind, like all the good times, conversations, the times missed. I started feeling like I let her down, and it was just a bad time for me. But during that time, uh, I got off the phone, and I've always been a praying man. So I got off the phone. I went back in the cell, and the guy that I was in the cell with, his name was Marvin. I don't remember his last name, but he was from Baltimore, and he was dating the actress comedian Monique from Baltimore, and he came in the cell, and I was sitting on the side of the bed. He saw I was crying. He was a sanitation worker, so he was out, you know, during count time. They cleaned the walks and stuff. So he came in the cell because he seen me going back up the steps. So he came in. He was like, "What's going on, bro?" Like that. And I tell him. So he sat down on the bunk with me, put his arm around me, was like, "Bro, you know, I don't know the words to say, but just know I'm here for you, you know." So he went back and he went back out. I'm sitting on the side of the bed, and a sparrow bird came and sat on the ledge of the window. And this bird just started singing nonstop. It would not shut up. And I got up and I hit the window. I didn't want to hear no bird singing. I hit the window. It wouldn't fly away. I beat on the window. It wouldn't fly away. Even while I'm hitting the window and beating, he just kept singing. Bird just kept singing. So something in my mind, something I heard, you know, well, I ain't here, but something just said, you know, she's all right. She's in a better place. And that kind of made everything all right for me. I accepted the fact of where I was at. I accepted the fact that I couldn't go to a funeral. And like I say, that wasn't just the roughest time for me incarcerated. That was the roughest time for me in my life.
How much time were you doing, Mike, on that stint?
At that time, I had 2 20-year sentences in 2 different states. My first one was in Maryland. I was doing that one. And then that one, I ended up giving that one back through the courts.
So there was no chance that you were going to be going home anytime soon.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at that time. But that was it for me.
All right. How about you, Brother Lateef?
All right, so I'm gonna put this mask on right now. Y'all excuse me, I got to put this mask on because I got to get some dental work. But I want to make sure that I still, can y'all hear me good?
Yeah.
Okay. So mine's is, you know, I did 34 years and 3 months. So I don't had things that happen, man, that I don't even forgot that, I mean, that's in there, you know, when you're in there like that. But when I was thinking about what the subject matter is, just like Mike, and I'm sure not just us on this panel, but many that's been in this particular situation. But the one thing that stuck out of all the things that could think of was the death of my sister. And the reason why it stuck out because it crushed me because she and I are about 23 months apart. So we always been close growing up. You know, she's 23 months older than me. We'll just say 2 years older than me. So growing up, we always was very, very close. And when I went to prison and got locked up, being that she and I was the closest to in the family, she could relate more to me what I really needed while I was away in reference to how my children was doing. Because everyone knew that I loved my children. So that was another way of me being able to, stay in contact when we would call, we would always talk about family. But our main thing was I would always call her like every 2 weeks and we would talk about live at the Apollo, because growing up as kids, we all growing up singing, dancing, entertainment, going to talent shows. This was before EBT and all the video games and all that. You find ways to entertain yourself. And as you notice, the talent then was real. You know what I mean? So not that it's not real now, but you had a whole lot more creativity, in doing the things that you did. But anyway, so that I look forward to every 2 weeks we will get out there and we'll talk about how crazy some of the acts are. They'll get on there and try to sing a song. You don't have the octaves to sing that. You don't have the voice to sing that. So we'll laugh about that and clown about that and about, the Sandman. He'll come out there and do his little clown act and get him off the stage. And also during this time, I was also going through, a situation with my family to where I really wasn't communicating with many, but just only a very few. But her and I had a real close, tight bond. And I'm sensitive only when it comes to my family. And one of the things that me and this sister used to always go through growing up, I would ask her for something. I said, Shakita, let me have some of that. No. Now, when she don't finish, got her fill or whatever she wanted, here, boy, I didn't want it then. I want it while it's still good to you. I want a piece of that while it's still good to you. I don't want it when you don't want it no more. So this was a thing that she and I used to grow up. Not that she didn't love it, just how sisters and brothers are, sibling rivalry. So anyway, I called her so we can have our talk. But she was going through her own personal things in life. That's the one thing about being incarcerated. We can't see what goes on out there. They can't see what goes on where we are. So we always, looking at things, in the blind. So I called her and it was a rough day for her. So she answered the phone like this. Collect call from California Correction Facility. My name. That's you, huh? I said, what you doing? Nothing. I said, I'll call you back. And I hung the phone up. Hurt my feelings, only because of the type of relationship that she had. And I really wasn't communicating with anyone else. And this was my lifeline. Okay, so we go on and I go on about my business, handle my business. I shook it off like many, many things before. And but something kept telling me, call your sister, call your sister, call your sister. I kept ignoring that. Call your sister, call your sister. I've always been close to with all of my sisters because I've always been their protector. I'm talking about from here, all that, but so when I kept hearing this, call your sister, because we was always very close. But I'm just being hard-headed and saying, no, I'm gonna make her pay for not really wanting to talk to me. So about 2 weeks later, I get a visit. Now, at this time, I was writing this young lady that I met when I first came to California. I met her through my aunt. And, we, had some dealings with each other. When I got locked up, I just happened to write her. And her and I had been writing each other. And she had done gained a little weight and things. She wasn't, as fly as she felt that she was, when me and her met, how women are, they want to make sure they get everything together. So when she came to see me, she wanted to make sure that I'm still looking at what I remember her to be. So she had a little work to do to get down to that point. But still, she put that to the side to come see me with my sisters to support, to tell me that my sister was dead. The same one that I've been trying ignoring, saying, call your sister, call your sister, call your sister, but I don't call her. So I get this surprise visit. So when I walked in to visit the room, I seen my mother and my sister. They sitting there, but I don't feel that excitement, that energy that I normally get, right? And so I walked in and I seen the sister that came with her, the young lady I was writing at that time. She came with them and she was sitting at another table next to him. She didn't think I would know who she was. So I greeted my mother, I hugged her, I hugged my sister, and then I just walked over to the table and I leaned down and I kissed her on the jaw. I said, hey, how you doing? And so we all sit down, we started talking and it was cool. But I'm looking at, I'm telling it, something just ain't right. It only took about 10 seconds. And then they both there started crying and said, she's dead. I said, what? Who dead? They said, so I just sit there. I couldn't believe it. I heard him say it, but it didn't seem real. So, but for me, being in prison and being in places like that, you condition yourself to just instantly stuff your feelings.
Right,
Stuff.
right.
You don't want to feel that. You don't want to feel that. So when they told me that, I immediately put my guard up, put all my arm on. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel that. So I hugged them, kissed them, and consoled them. Read, spoke on spiritual matters with them from scripture and things like that. About, this is a part of the master's plan. I'm saying all these things to them and mean it. So when the visit is over, they leave. Am I on camera?
No, I
No.
can't see you.
Okay, hold on.
You hit something there that caused you to disappear, brother.
Man.
It,
Okay, let me just keep talking. So I can just let me keep talking. Okay, so so I'm just I'm just sitting out one day. So I go to work. So I'm going to work and I'm working in textile, and I'm sitting down at a machine, sewing pockets, trying to put pockets on the machine, on a shirt. And I'm just sitting and I began to start thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, And next thing I know, a big puddle of tears is right there on the, right there on the table where I'm trying to sew this pocket on this shirt, And I didn't notice that the needle, now, these are institutional sewing machines. I had done sold my finger and snatched my finger and knocked a piece of the meat off. So when I walked up to the window to let the supervisor know I needed to go to the hospital, to an infirmary, so I can get some attention. When I stuck my finger in the window, she passes out. In a way, they gave me a pass. She fainted, rather. They gave me a pass. I'll go to the infirmary. So I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. And all the time, I'm beating myself up because I'm like, man, I didn't call. I didn't call it. I'm not going to hear a voice no more. I'm not going to be able to hear her laugh and the jokes and all the things. That was my lifeline. She was the one that I would call to recharge up, in my family. You there?
Right.
So, and then by me not calling, adhering to this voice in my head to say, call your sister, because of the tight bond and relationship that we had. She was the only sister at that time that when she wrote me, she talked to me about the things she knew that was most important to me, which was the well-being of my children. What their mother was doing, she knew that was something that I didn't really care to know about because she and I wasn't together anymore. Unlike if I got some mail from anyone else, they're going to tell me a whole lot of things I don't even want to hear. But then we were so tied in that everything she did, she made sure that she was conscious to make sure that I know where my brother's at. I know that he's up against it. So everything I do is going to be about, keeping him built up. And I know that his children is the most important thing to him. So, that was our thing. And now I just can't get that anymore. Not because she was letting me know what's going on with my children, but the fact that me being in a situation like that, and I'm knowing that she's always in my corner. And when that voice is say to call her and I don't call, and now I'm beating myself up because I'm saying, damn, I ain't gonna be able to hear her voice no more. To see her face. I mean, I'm not, that's gone. That's final. It's over. And I'm mad at myself, and I'm beating myself up. So I'm sitting I'm in the cell one day, I'm by myself, and I'm thinking about that and I'll go to sleep. She come to me in my dream, and she came to me in the dream. It was what we normally do, laughing and talking about the Apollo, and then in the dream, she said, Junior, because that's what everybody in my family called me because I'm named after my father. Junior, I love you. It's okay. I'm not mad at you. And it seems so real. And just to say it like this, sometimes, it seemed like a person is not being all the way honest, but that's how it go. And it felt, it felt surreal. I mean, it's like I could clearly see her face, uh, her voice, the sound of her voice, right? And when I woke up after the dream, it was like a lot of relief because I used to beat myself up with, man, I couldn't tell her I was sorry that I didn't call her. And I knew that my sister was going, she go through things and she didn't mean it. It was just a moment, but me being stubborn and bullheaded, me and her both was like that. I wouldn't call her and say, to let her, tell me that she was sorry. I want to punish her. And in doing so, she got hit by a drunk driver on her way back home from church. It was either going to church or coming back from church. And a drunk driver hit her, my niece, and two of my nephews. My sister died. My niece and my two nephews, they lived. And one of my nephews, he was a baby. So we was really, not an infant, but old enough to where he's at their very vulnerable age to where missing his mama was going to be a man. So, and that just crushed me, man, for a long time because I was like, man, baby, I'm sorry. I just want to apologize to you, for cutting you off like that. Now, that was right there, man. That was one of the most crushing moments,
You
because
remember? You remember what year that was? Was I at Soledad with you at that time?
that was 92, somewhere around in there.
Hmm.
92. That's when close custody was in E-Wing. That's when, they was
Yeah,
making.
I think I was already there, but I don't think that we met yet because when I got there, I was tagged with that close custody business too, so my movement was limited.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
at
so
that
that
time, that prison, at that environment at that time, it was like a level, 4 or 3.
yeah,
So,
no. They say it was level 2, but it was no level 2. They treated
oh
that
no,
place
well,
like
see,
it
you
was a
came no,
maximum
you came
security.
later. When they made it level 2s, that was like you talking. That's when they went on into uh close to the 90s. In the
Yeah,
90s. Yeah, because see, when I got there, it wasn't no level 2. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So when it comes to my particular experience, there, my worst moments, like you said, I could think of several, man. In the span of almost 30 years, I mean, who can't? I mean, there's so many times, so many moments. I could talk about the decision that I had to make of stop calling my son to communicate with him because it was hurting him. It was causing him a lot of problems. I could talk about the day that I went to pick up legal mail and I got the letter from the attorney telling me that she had exhausted all remedies on my appeal and that she was abandoning ship. and I was on my own, and the reality hit me that no, you're not going home anytime soon. You got to wrap your head around this life sentence that they gave you. But these things happened to me when I was in the early stages of incarceration. I was still in my early 30s, and I still felt like I had a lot of energy, a lot of strength, and a lot of resolve to continue the fight, and to try to figure out a way that I could overcome these obstacles and keep pushing. But I think the worst moment, the one that really shook me up, and the one that I want to share with you guys, is that with the passage of time, and you start to look at yourself in the mirror, and you start to realize that you're changing, you're getting older. You don't look the same that you looked when you first got in the pen. When I first got in the pen, I still had hair on my head. I was still going to the barber and paying him 50 cents to cut my hair. I'm talking about 2+ decades have gone by now, man, and I'm getting older. You know, I can't do the same things that I was doing when I was young. And after many, many, many years of trying, I go to the board of prison terms, and I get found suitable for parole. This is light at the end of the tunnel, you know, and I'm thinking, this is it, man. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't be going home at the end of this 120-day period that the governor has to review what the board did. So, you know, and that's, you know, for those of you who don't know, that's California law. When the board of parole hearings find you suitable for parole, then the governor has 120 days to review the decision, and then he can either take it or he can let you go. That's the bottom line. Yeah. So I'm so excited about the possibility that I'm going to go home, that as time passes and the days are mounting, I start to give away all my property: TV, radio, shoes, clothing, everything that I own. I intend to walk out of the penitentiary with a brown bag and just a minor few possessions, and, you know, call it a day. Latif, Mike, on the very last day that this man had to make his decision, you know, the thing that they did to us is that they would bring us legal mail docket to the cell, and then after the count cleared, you would go to the office with that little docket and pick up your legal mail. You know the system. And so all these days, the mailman had been going by, the guard. He ain't stopping at my cell to give me nothing. No mail, no ducats, no nothing. I'm feeling good about that. And this last day, I'm talking about the next day, I would be going to R&R to get processed out. That's when this guy stops at my cell, knocks on the window, and tells me I got legal mail. And right away, I felt that sinking sensation in my stomach, that something was not kosher. And I tell you, I try to keep my composure, man. I try not to, you know, overreact. I said it could be legal mail from anybody. I went to that administration office with that legal mail docket in my hand. I stood in line with everybody else. And as soon as I got the envelope, and I saw that it was coming from the governor's office, I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't need to open it. The guy opened it because they got to check it. Well, no, actually, legal mail, they don't open. He just looked at it and he gave it to me, and everybody knows what time it is. I took that envelope and I went straight back to the building. At that time, I was in a single cell, so I didn't have anybody else living with me. And I tell you, I was undecided as to whether or not I should open that letter, put it on the desk and say, I know what it is already, so there's no need. But look, man, this is how strong this thing is, man. I couldn't help myself. I tore the envelope open and I pulled the letter out and I just read the first line. And right away I knew he'd taken my date. And I was, I don't know, maybe 24, 25 years in, maybe a little less than that at that time in my sentence. I had been beat down at the parole board for so many years. And I thought I was done with that. And when I read that letter, man, I tell you, that thing hit me so hard, Latif and Mike. I lost my appetite. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was done, man. I didn't know what the next step was going to be. But in that moment, I just felt like all the resolve, all the resilience, all the willpower, all the desire to continue to live, to fight, to program, to get up and keep pushing, it left me, man. It left, I don't know, it flew out of that window. And I just sat there and I felt defeated. And I started contemplating, what could I do to bring this whole situation to an end? I really felt at that moment like that was it. I wasn't going to go home. That was the sign that I was getting that said, it's over. You might as well wrap your head around the fact that you're going to die in prison. You're never going to see daylight. And it went on for days. I think that happened to me on a Friday. And I didn't go out that Friday to eat. I didn't leave the cell Saturday. I didn't leave the cell Sunday. And it was Sunday night before somebody came knocking at the door and asking me what was going on. They needed me to come out to the yard and take a few laps. By that time, word had gotten around, man. Everybody in the yard knew I had got my date yanked, and I was up in that cell, and it wasn't good.
Right.
And so that's the setting, and you know, the worst moment, the moment of hopelessness, and you can relate to this, my brother, since you're a lifer, Latif. The next step was to sign up for a phone call and then get on that phone and call my mother and tell her. Now she is giddy. I just remember 3.5, 4 months ago, I had called and said, I got found suitable. You know, it's a strong possibility I'm coming home. I got to make that call now and tell her, forget it. Forget about it. The governor took my date and I'm back in the rotation. I got to wait for the next parole hearing, and I got to go back in there and sell myself and prove that I'm rehabilitated and hope that this next panel will see it the same way and grant me another date. And you know, and I felt like, I don't know that I have the energy to go through all of this again. This is years it's going to take before I get back in there, because automatically once they take your date, you go into this 3-year denial thing. So I will pause here. We'll come back to how did I overcome that, who helped, you know, what happened, how we got back on the horse to keep pushing. And so I know you, both of you, talked about moments where you lost someone that was really close to you, and you started to, but you didn't really go into any details as to, you know, what helped you to overcome that, and you know, how were you able to turn the corner and regain the positivity that would help you to survive, you know, this difficult environment that we were in. So I'll start back with Mike. Mike, if you want to share with us a little bit about, you know, what brought you back, man. You know, you were at the brink of despair. You just lost a loved one. You know, you can't attend the funeral, and you're sitting in the cell trying to figure out what's next. So, you know, what happened after that, man? How did you get back, man?
Oh man. Oh, shit.
What I think it was a lot of elements that brought me through that. First of all, it was the woman that died on me, raised me pretty much.
Yeah.
And she didn't say much, but when she said things, it was priceless, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was jewels that you better had picked up when she dropped them, right? So that's when I wrote Prison Kingpin, I used that analogy. I didn't want to waste anybody's time in my book, right? And I used how my granny would speak. When she spoke, she didn't waste your time with her words. So I knew in that moment I had to be the person that she raised me to be. And that was a strong, resilient person, right? So
Yeah.
I leaned on what I knew, and that was this. You know what I mean? It's a good book, the Bible, right? All that I had learned up until that point from scripture, all that I had learned up to that point from her, all that I had learned up to that point from life. You know what I mean? Like, she was my rock, but in me, she created a rock. So I knew that a lot of people, even though I wasn't there physically, I had a lot of people drawn from my strength. And I knew I couldn't let them down by checking out.
Right.
Right? I knew I couldn't let them down by checking out. But that was the weakest moment I've ever had in my life. Even then, up to the day, it still has been the weakest moment I've ever had in my life. Where nothing at that moment, it was like I didn't care. So what pulled me through it was her. Just thinking about her. What if death is something, bro, that's I think it's the most hardest thing we'll ever deal with in our life.
Yeah.
Not prison time, not death. Death is the next thing after prison to me. Right? To me, when you're in prison, you're in a cement coffin. Right? You're alive, but you dead. You only have a limited number of people that even cares about where you at.
Yeah.
You only have a certain amount now. Now that percentage goes down even further when you talk about people reaching out to you and making sure how you doing, you okay from society, right? So then when you look at that element of it all, you realizing that I'm walking dead.
Yeah.
Because to so many people, you don't exist. You're the furthest thing from somebody's mind when you're in prison.
Yeah.
It's just like the same thing when you die. Every now and then somebody thinks about you. It's the same thing in prison. Every now and then somebody thinks about you. On your birthday, then somebody might say, boy, I wish bro was here. I wonder how he doing. They might swing by, give your mama a couple dollars, give your girl a couple dollars, whatever. But for the most part, you're dead to a lot of people when you're in prison.
Yeah.
So in the movie Life, right? I was in prison when that movie came out. I was in prison when a lot of movies came out, but I was in prison when that movie came out. And I watched it in prison. We all watched it at the same time. And something that stuck out in that movie to me.
You talking about the one with Lawrence Martin?
Martin Lawrence, Eddie
Mhm.
Murphy.
Martin Lawrence. Yeah, I seen
Yeah.
that one too. Yeah.
Bernie Mac,
Bernie
a
Mac.
lot of
Right.
comedians. Yeah. Something that stuck out in that movie to me was when they all passed away. You would see them walking,
Yeah.
then they would fade. Right? And when I saw that, I said, that's not going to be me. Right? The time I just done in prison, I was in Eddyville. Eddyville Penitentiary is the second oldest penitentiary in the state of Kentucky. It's real old. They call it a castle. It looks like a castle. Sits up over top of a lake. Iron bars. It's real old, right? 1800. This is the only prison where I saw death row prisoners. You see them. You live in a certain cell house. They're at the bottom floor, but you can see them and interact with them. And every day when I was in this cell house, I would see them, and they wore a red jumpsuit. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, bro, these men are one day gonna die by the hands of the electric chair, lethal injection. Every day these guys is fighting for their life to stay alive. Just they praying for a life sentence.
Yeah.
They praying for the day of life sentence where it don't matter that I'm never going home. Just don't kill me. And these is the hardest of the hard. I'm talking about guys that's serial killers. That took many alive. Now you begging for your life. And I found that to be like, this ain't real. That's not real to me. I sold dope, right? So every sentence that they gave me, bring it on. I handled that. Right? So when I saw how those grown men was fighting for their life, that changed me a lot, bro. It changed me a lot because what I thought was real, I realized this ain't real. This ain't being in prison ain't real. Being real, that's not being real.
Yeah.
Leaving your responsibilities for somebody else to not being real.
Well, listen, so you overcame by thinking of the person that had passed and what her teachings to you were. Before we move over to Brother Latif, I just want to say a big shout out to the people who are texting us in the chat. The letters are very small, and I apologize. I can't hardly see them, but know that our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we're grateful that you're joining us on this journey. And we hope that we're, giving you something that some insight into a world that most people don't get an opportunity to hear about or see or even know about. So thank you for being here with us. And I just want to remind Brother Latif and Mike that we got about 15 minutes to go on the segment. We want to, keep it short because I want to give both of you guys an opportunity to say a little bit about your books and tell the audience where you can, where they can reach out and buy a copy. So, Latif, if you have some thoughts that you want to share with the audience about how you overcame the death of your sister, go for it, my brother.
Okay. For me, when she passed away, how I overcame that. At this time, again, my heart and my feelings was so guarded that it became somewhat difficult, really, to get over it. Because I struggled with it by myself. Until I called home. My mother, she helped me a lot, but but there are some things, man, you got to tough it out. You got to get it on your own. Some things you don't get no help with. But what really helped me was when I began to start really praying, and asking sincerely to, to forgive me, because what it was, I was punishing myself, you know, for not really contacting her and doing the things I knew I really wanted to do. But then I would just sit down, man, and I just think about her, and I refused to accept and to believe that she was dead. So to help me get over it, in my heart and in my mind, I had always said, "You will always be alive in my heart and my mind." And I would find myself trying to go to sleep, think about her to go to sleep, hoping that I can have a dream of her, so she would come to me, because those was the only times that me and her can communicate. I would look at her pictures, I would read her letters, but you know, when I would miss her, that wouldn't do. You know what I mean? Uh, and then fortunately, again, she came back to me in the dream, and she told me, brother, this is all right. Don't be oppressed. This is okay, baby. I know you love me. I forgive you, Junior. Because we had that real, real strong bond. And my mother raised us like that. And that's the reason why it bothered me so much. But it was one particular brother, um, he came to me. He said, my brother, I'm going to say this to you, man. I see you struggling, man. And I know it's a lot going on with your brother life, but let me say this to you, man. Men cry. Whatever that is, man, let it go, man. Men cry because, when we be around each other and you really get to know each other, you can tell what's something wrong with your boy. When he's really struggling, he's really going through something, he's trying to hold on. I never contemplated suicide by hurting myself, but I did think many times about getting that iron, you know what I'm saying, and go knock down, not no inmate, go knock down one of those with a badge on, with the, with the
Right.
showing up stripes all the way down, knock him down. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I know that those behind me gonna celebrate, because they're not the one who hold the keys to keep me locked up. They
Yeah.
not the ones that oppress me. They are not the one that tell me you only got 3 minutes to use the bathroom, flush and everything. They ain't the one that tell me when I can go out, side and get me some fresh air. All them kind of things that build up in us, from being away and being mistreated for all that time. Again, but how I overcame it was talking to a brother, that understood and seen my struggle, and my sister herself. The Most High blessed me by allowing her to come to me in my dreams, because it was so real when she came to me in my dreams. I can still smell her scent, hear her voice, everything about her, and after that, I was good. I was good after that. I know I'm conscious of the time. We got 10 minutes, so I'm gonna kill it
Yeah.
off right there.
Well, that's good. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, just before I got my parole date the first time, I was deep in spirituality, and I was convinced that the reason why I got my first parole suitability finding was because of my newfound relationship with God. So imagine the disappointment when they took the date. But then, in the same manner, it was that same spirituality then that helped me overcome, and in combination with the community of lifers, man. I'm gonna tell you something, Latif. You have relatives, man, that are blood relatives. You have family that you cannot deny, man. But I have to tell you that in my experience, man, I met some people in prison, man, that, I know for the rest of the world, they don't mean anything. They may be bad people or criminals or whatever label people want to put on them. But had it not been for these fellows, man, that were doing programs with me, were going to church with me, were doing Bible studies, were walking the yard, we're talking about strategies that you help overcome the discriminatory views of the parole board. These guys, man, with the passage of time became like brothers, man.
And
And I say that, yeah, I say that in the strongest terms, man, because you go from prison to prison with them, man. You ride the bus, you live in the same cells, in the same housing unit, you play dominoes with them, you do all kind of things, man. They know when you're not well, they know when you're not happy. And these are the guys, man, that in this belly of the beast, When you are not feeling your best, they come around and put their arms around your shoulders and say, brother, hang in there, man. God is good. He will make a way. Don't give up. Just keep doing what you're doing, because he didn't have you come this far for nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my gratitude is to these men, man, that some of them I left behind and are still there struggling. And, I live my life every day, man, in a manner that reflects in the best way possible, because I want the community to see in me that there is a possibility of change and transformation, and that men can change and become better citizens if only they get an opportunity, man, from those who are in power and are tasked with the decisions of finding these men suitable. So with that, we got about, I don't know, 6 minutes. I want to give you and Mike a chance, Latif, to talk about your books. Tell the audience where they can purchase the book, and go for it, my brother.
Okay. I'll start out first. So, no, go ahead on, Mike. That's the rotation was with you first, so we can keep it like that.
Mike, you
Prison
got a copy of your
Kingpin.
book? Yeah, go ahead. There you
Yeah,
are.
of course. Of course. Prison Kingpin, great book. You can find my on Amazon, Lulu, my own website. Not disappointed in
You was
the story, what I, and you not let down.
Yeah, the brother's got off the screen, and there was a little bit of an echo in what he was saying there. It's very hard to understand him. But correct me if I'm wrong, Latif. He said that the book can be found on Amazon,
mm-hmm.
and,
Amazon,
then Master Media is also
Lulu.com.
selling it. Yeah. So Master Media is behind the book, and they got it on their platform, and it's also on Amazon. How about yours, Latif? Mike,
Okay, mine.
listen, you were breaking up. You were coming in with an echo, but we kind of paraphrased what you were saying there to help people understand where they can get the book, brother. So you covered, man. Don't worry about a thing. All right, but Latif, go ahead, man.
Okay, this is my book, Surviving the Beast, Volume 1, subtitle Crawl, Walk, Run, Fly. You can purchase this book on Amazon, Lulu.com, Master Meter. You can get it on all three of those platforms. Thank you for those who have already purchased my book. Thank you so very, very much. And thank those in advance. You will not be disappointed. Surviving the Beast is a must read. Peace and blessings to all who have joined in on us, and thank you for once again.
Very well, very well. And last but not least, we have where am I? There we are. In Pursuit of Happiness. You can't miss it. Look for the butterfly on the cover. It's a memoir. It's worth reading. You're not going to be disappointed, like the brother Latif said. Every one of our stories, man. We got about 187 years of life experience in the penitentiary. Everybody has a point of view. You're going to learn things from reading these books that you can't learn in any college, any university, or any school. This is real talk. Please. And we thank you in advance for your support. We appreciate you. And yes, it's the same platform, Amazon.com. You can get it in ebook form if you want, or you can get the soft cover. You can also contact Master Media to purchase a copy of the book. We thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. And any last thoughts, gentlemen? We got a couple of minutes.
Today I met with a guy. He's a marketing director at T-Mobile. And we had a deep conversation, man. We had a very deep conversation. And this guy was saying about that he's trying to get to what T-Mobile is doing, commercials, right?
Yeah, you're breaking up again, Mike. Hard to understand.
Okay.
You got to move around till you get to the good reception.
Yeah, I can't make out what he's saying. Can you make out what he's saying there, Brother Latif?
No, I can. No, I can't make out what he's saying. I can just see his face.
Yeah,
But I can't make out.
he's the image is there he is. The image was frozen. Maybe he can come in now. Are you there, Mike?
Okay, so what was the question again, Pablo?
No, he was talking about he met with somebody from
Oh,
T-Mobile.
from T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he was going to talk about something that they're doing some kind of promotional thing, and maybe I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but I think he was heading in that direction.
Okay, look like he's trying to get back in now. There you go.
Yeah, you are. Give it another shot, Mike. We got about 2 minutes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, well, I think where he's at now. Can you hear us, Mike? No, it looked like he's working on his computer, trying to get it. There you go. We can hear you now. Okay, he just went back out again.
Yeah, he went back out. Well, on that note,
His time is up.
We're gonna have to get it there. Whatever it is that he was gonna say, we're gonna have to hear it on the next one. You guys take care. Peace out.
Yeah.
God bless you.
All right. Yeah.